The text message from Mom arrived on a damp Tuesday morning, just as I was attempting to wrestle Ava's arm into her coat sleeve for kindergarten. Need to talk, honey? Call when you can. My own throat felt tight before I even dialed. Lately, calls from home always came with an undercurrent of something difficult. After dropping the kids at school, Caleb, my 10-year-old, already halfway across the playground before I could finish my reminder about packing his snack, I called her back from the car. My lukewarm coffee sat in the cup holder, forgotten. Mom's voice had that sugary sweet lilt she used when she was about to deliver bad news wrapped in cotton candy. "Sweetheart," she began, and I braced myself. "I've been looking at the numbers for our winter trip to Cedar Creek. Cedar Creek Lodge. The annual family mountain retreat. It wasn't just a vacation. It was the family tradition. Every winter since I was a kid, we'd rent a cluster of cabins or the main lodge, skiing, hiking, playing board games by the fire. It was one of the few things that felt constant, a solid anchor in a world that had felt pretty shaky since my divorce and the challenges of getting my business off the ground. My kids adored it. Caleb talked about the stream where Dad taught us all to skip stones, Ava about the old swing set tucked behind cabin 3. It's just, Mom sighed, a dramatic put-upon sound that always made me feel guilty, with everything being so expensive, and, well, with your situation, honey, it's just not feasible this year. Not with all the extra expenses. My situation. The extra expenses. That meant me and my kids. The subtext wasn't even subtle anymore. It was just text. My heart sank. It wasn't just about the money. It was about being labeled the burden, the one whose very existence made cherished family traditions not feasible. I could chip in more, I offered quickly, hating the desperate edge in my voice. My consulting firm, while still relatively young, was finally starting to gain traction. Business is doing better. I can cover a cabin, meals, whatever it takes. "Oh no, sweetheart," Mom said, that cloying sweetness back. "We couldn't ask you to do that. Besides, Chloe was just saying, maybe it's time we skipped a year. Give everyone's wallets a break." Of course, Chloe suggested it. My older sister, whose life with her husband Mason was a perfect, curated tableau of wealth and ease. Chloe, who hadn't had to worry about the price of milk, let alone a mountain retreat, since she graduated college. "Right," I managed, my voice flat. "Thanks for letting me know." The line went dead. Telling Caleb and Ava that evening was one of the hardest things I'd done in a while. Caleb's face fell, his planned stream fishing expedition canceled before it began. Ava just asked, her lower lip trembling, "Will the swing set be lonely?" And I had to leave the room before they saw me cry. "Next year, I promise," my voice thick. "Definitely next year." I hugged them tight, a silent vow forming in my mind. I wouldn't let them feel like the extras forever. 3 days later, the internet delivered a cruel punch to the gut. I was scrolling mindlessly through Instagram when I saw it. My thumb froze. There they were. Chloe, Mason, Mom, Dad, even Lily, Chloe's daughter, who was supposedly too busy for a winter trip this year, tagged in dozens of glossy photos. Not at home, giving their wallets a break. They were on a beach under palm trees, by an infinity pool that stretched to the ocean. A luxurious beach villa vacation. The hashtags were like tiny knives, hashtag family escape, hashtag island paradise, hashtag blessed not stressed, hashtag no filter needed for this life. I clicked through each photo with a morbid fascination, a growing knot of nausea in my stomach. There they were, laughing at a private dinner on the sand. Mason wore a ridiculous, expensive straw hat. Another photo showed Mom and Dad lounging by the pool, looking utterly relaxed, completely belying the finances are tight excuse. Chloe's captions were particularly galling, talking about cherishing precious family time, making memories with the ones who matter most. The ones who matter most. The phrase echoed in my head, a confirmation of what I'd always suspected. My phone buzzed. A text from Sandra, my best friend and a sharp-as-nails real estate lawyer. "OMG. Are you seeing this? Call me." Seriously. I couldn't call. I could barely breathe. The photos kept coming over the next few days. Snorkeling trips, fancy cocktails, sunset views from their private terrace. Each one a fresh wound. Finally, a voicemail from Mom. Her voice thick with feigned regret. Having such a wonderful time, sweetheart. The villa is just gorgeous. Wish you could see it. Maybe next time, when things aren't so strained, right? I deleted the message without listening to the end. That night, after the kids were asleep, I sat on my small back porch with a glass of cheap wine. The summer air was heavy. I pulled up an old photo from Cedar Creek, all of us, bundled up, smiling awkwardly in front of the lodge. I was holding a much younger Ava, standing slightly apart from the main group, a familiar placement. My phone lit up with another beach photo from Chloe, a close-up of her hand, sparkling with diamonds, holding a fancy drink, tagged #simplyblessed. I walked inside. Caleb's untouched fishing reel sat in the corner, ready for a stream that he wouldn't get to see. Ava's little notebook lay on the table, open to a drawing of a swing set. Years of feeling like an afterthought, of being the one left out or expected to be grateful for scraps, crashed over me. The constant comparisons to Chloe's perfect life, the thinly veiled judgments about my struggles, the way my kids were suddenly seen as a financial complexity. They hadn't canceled the trip because of money. They had canceled us. My laptop screen glowed. The business plan for my consulting firm. The biggest meeting of my life was in 2 days, a pitch that could secure the funding needed to scale, to finally create real security for my children. Before, I was terrified. Now, I felt a cold, focused calm. My phone buzzed again. Oh, another beach photo. I turned it face down. I promise. I whispered to the quiet house, to the sleeping children down the hall. You will never feel like the extras again. I didn't know how I'd keep that promise, or what it would cost, but the resolve was iron hard. They're ready for you, Scarlett. Riley's voice, sharp and encouraging, pulled me back to the present. I was standing in the sleek, intimidating lobby of the venture capital firm. My palms were damp, but my grip on my presentation folder was steady. How do I look? I whispered to Riley, my brilliant business partner, who was adjusting the lapel of my blazer. Like a woman who's about to change her life, she smiled. The boardroom was all glass, polished chrome, and serious faces. I set up my materials. My hands, surprisingly, didn't shake. I began, my voice clear. I told them about building my firm from scratch, about the challenges, the long nights, the moments of doubt. But I focused on resilience, on finding creative solutions, on turning obstacles into opportunities. I talked about helping businesses not just survive, but thrive, even in tough conditions, subtly mirroring my own journey. The questions came fast: market strategy, growth potential, ROI. I answered each one, drawing on months of preparation, but also on the raw, recent emotion that had refined my focus. I spoke about passion, purpose, and the unwavering belief in my ability to deliver results. Impressive, Ms. Thomas, the lead investor said, leaning forward. Your projections are strong. But why you? What makes you the one to lead this? Before I could fully formulate my answer, my phone, sitting face down on the table beside my notes, buzzed discreetly. A text notification flashed on the screen. Oh. Mason booked that new French place downtown for Mom's birthday dinner Saturday. $300 a plate. Hope you can swing it. Let me know if you're in ASAP. The casual condescension, the deliberate highlighting of the cost, it hit a nerve, exactly as she intended. I looked up, met the investor's eyes, and smiled, a genuine, fierce smile. Because, I said, my voice ringing with conviction, I understand what it takes to rebuild from the ground up. I understand resilience. And I'm stubborn enough to turn impossible situations into undeniable success. 2 hours later, Riley and I were in the parking lot, blinking in the afternoon sun. $10 million? Riley kept repeating, laughing and crying at the same time. They gave us $10 million. We hugged fiercely. We'd done it. The future, the secure future I had promised my children, was within reach. That night, I took Caleb and Ava to their favorite pizza place. While they debated pepperoni versus extra cheese, I checked my email. There was a message from Sandra, marked urgent, FWD. I opened it and froze. It was an email chain, originated by Mason, discussing plans for next winter. It detailed securing a long-term rental at Cedar Creek Lodge. Not just one cabin. The entire lodge and surrounding cabins. 8 weeks. Just our immediate family, Mason had written. More intimate that way. The chain included messages from Chloe and Dad, discussing logistics and expressing excitement about having the place all to ourselves. There was even a comment from Chloe about being so relieved not to have the usual chaos, clearly referencing me and my kids. The email had been accidentally forwarded by Mason's assistant, not just to Sandra's personal address, but to a general inquiry inbox at Sandra's law firm that she monitored. A stroke of unbelievable, painful luck for me. More intimate. Just us. Like the beach trip. Another family gathering I wasn't meant to know about, planned for the very place I'd promised my kids they'd return to. Mom. Caleb's voice pulled me back, his face hopeful. Can we get extra cheese and anchovies? I looked at my son, his face open and trusting. Extra cheese, I agreed, a hard knot forming in my stomach. And anchovies. And giant sundaes after. Later that night, after tucking the kids in, I called Sandra. I was going to delete it, she admitted, her voice serious. But I saw your name on the forwarded list and you needed to know. They're doing it again, I said, my voice flat, devoid of emotion. Planning another trip. To Cedar Creek. Without us. Sandra was silent for a moment. After today, the investment? Yes, I confirmed. After today. Have you told them? I thought of Chloe's casual cruelty, Mom and Dad's passive acceptance, the years of feeling sidelined while Chloe was celebrated. No, I said. And I'm not going to. Not yet. Scarlett, Sandra's tone was cautious. What are you thinking? I walked to my small home office and opened my laptop. I pulled up the website for Cedar Creek Lodge. The familiar rustic cabins, the snow-dusted pines, the frozen pond. Memories flooded back, happy ones mixed with the sting of exclusion that often accompanied them. The swing set. The stream. Cabin 7, the biggest and best, that Chloe always claimed. Remember, I said to Sandra, my voice low, when we were kids, and Chloe would hide my favorite toys at Cedar Creek, then pretend she had no idea where they were? Said I was careless. Yeah, Sandra replied softly. I remember. Well, I said, clicking on the Contact Us tab, a cold smile forming on my face. I think it's time I learned how to play that game too. Scarlett, what are you planning? Justice, I said simply. Or maybe revenge. At this point, is there really a difference? The website listed rental rates for the entire property. It was a significant amount, but looking at the zeros in my new investment account, it felt manageable. Like buying a new car. Send me everything you can find on the property, I told Sandra. Ownership details, contact info, anything relevant. And Sandra? Keep this completely between us for now. I hung up and began researching property laws in the county where Cedar Creek was located. Outside, the city lights reflected off a neighbor's window, but in my mind, I saw the snow-covered landscape of the lodge under a starry sky. Soon, I thought. Very soon. The gravel crunched under my tires as I turned onto the long drive leading to Cedar Creek Lodge. It had been years since I'd been here. The late autumn air was crisp, carrying the scent of pine and damp earth. A thin mist hung over the frozen pond. Freddie, the manager from the original story, wasn't here anymore. Sandra had put me in touch with Isaac, the current caretaker, a man described as being as devoted to the property as he was wary of outsiders. He was waiting on the porch of the main lodge office. Just as Sandra said he'd be, weathered face, quiet eyes, a set of keys jingling on his belt loop. Ms. Thomas, he said, extending a hand. Isaac Valdez. Thanks for making the drive. Please call me Scarlett. I shook his hand. I appreciate you meeting me on such short notice. Well, he said, leading me inside the cozy, if slightly dated, office where a pot of coffee was brewing. When a potential buyer wants to see the place, hard to say no. He poured us coffee into thick ceramic mugs. Though I admit I'm curious. We don't usually get interest in the whole property. I sipped the coffee buying time. I heard there might be some long-term booking plans for next winter? Isaac nodded slowly. Yeah, actually. Got a fella, Mr. Mason Little. His people have been real persistent about locking down 8 weeks. Offering above rate too. Has he signed anything? Nah. Just preliminary talks. Lot of back and forth. Why? I pulled out the folder Sandra had prepared. Because I'd like to make an offer. I slid the papers across his worn desk. Not for a booking. For the entire resort. Isaac's eyebrows shot up. He looked at the document, then back at me. The whole thing. Every cabin, every acre, every pine tree. I met his gaze. And I can close within 30 days. He let out a low whistle, studying the numbers. This is substantial. Mind if I ask why? We get folks wanting a cabin for a week. Never the whole kit and caboodle. Through the office window, I could see the snow-dusted swing set near cabin 3, the frozen stream beyond. Memories, sharp and bittersweet, rushed in Caleb's excitement about fishing, Ava's delight on those swings, the many times Chloe had pulled me off them because it was her turn, her space. Let's just say I have history here, Isaac, I replied softly. Good history. History I'd like to preserve. And some not-so-good history I'd like to rewrite. Isaac nodded slowly, a flicker of understanding in his eyes. Owners have been thinking about selling, he mused. Place needs updates they can't afford. Then letting it slide. He paused. But what about the existing interests? Mr. Little's family. No contract sign means no obligation, I stated, the legal fact feeling surprisingly powerful. And I added, looking directly at him, I'd like to keep you on as manager, Isaac. With a significant raise. You clearly care about this place. He studied me for a long moment. There's more to this story, isn't there, Scarlett? There always is, I confirmed. I stood up. Show me around? We spent the next hour touring the property. The main lodge needed a new roof. Several cabins required serious modernization. Cabin 7, Chloe's prized cabin, looked particularly neglected from the outside. But the bones of the place were good, sturdy, steeped in history and potential. Previous owners will want to move fast, Isaac said as we walked towards the frozen pond. Before winter planning really kicks in. That works for me, I replied. I pulled out my phone and texted Sandra. Make it happen. ASAP. Just then my phone rang. FaceTime from Chloe. My stomach clenched. I almost declined, but a sudden mischievous impulse took over. I answered, keeping my face neutral. Scarlett. Her perfect, airbrush smile filled the screen. Oh my gosh, I've missed you. Where are you? It looks like a forest? Are you at a mountain? Just checking out some property, I said vaguely, my gaze sweeping over the familiar landscape now becoming mine. What's up? Oh, nothing much. Just thinking about you. We all have been. Mason and I were just talking about next winter. You should totally come visit us. We're planning this amazing family get-together. She paused, clearly fishing for a reaction, a question about the mountain retreat she thought was their secret. Sorry, bad reception. I cut in smoothly, watching her smile freeze in a mask of forced concern. I'll call you back. I ended the call abruptly and turned to Isaac, who was pretending to examine a nearby pine tree, a faint smirk playing on his lips. How soon can we start the paperwork? I asked him. He turned, meeting my eyes, his own now holding a look of understanding and perhaps a little excitement for the drama to come. I'll call the owners right now, he said. He hesitated. You sure about this, Scarlett? It's a big step. And sounds like gonna cause a stir. I looked out over the frozen pond, the swing set, towards cabin 7. I remembered every time Chloe had pushed me aside, every time I'd felt second best, every time my children were excluded. Now all of this would be mine. Absolutely sure, I said. Let's make it happen. The next 3 weeks were a blur of contracts, inspections, and massive wire transfers. Sandra earned every penny, navigating the legal labyrinth, creating layers of LLCs to ensure my name was completely hidden from public records until the ink was dry. She even handled a last-minute complication, a brief inquiry from Robert, another interested party Isaac had mentioned, who apparently decided the renovation costs were too daunting. Good. One less hurdle. Finally, on a crisp, cold morning, I met Isaac outside the main lodge one last time, not as a potential buyer, but as the legal owner. Congratulations, Scarlett, he said, handing me a heavy ring of keys, gleaming new. She's all yours. Thanks, Isaac. I weighed the keys in my hand. The reality felt immense, almost dizzying. Any word from Mason about the winter booking? Oh yeah, Isaac grinned, a surprisingly sharp expression on his usually placid face. Left 3 more messages yesterday. Getting pretty insistent. Should I call him back? No need. I smiled, remembering Chloe's fishing call. Let him keep trying. My phone buzzed. A text from Sandra. Final papers filed. You are officially the owner. Still want to go through with the rest of the plan? I thought about Caleb's sad face when I told him about Cedar Creek being cancelled, about Ava's question about the swing set. I thought about the beach photos, the dismissive emails, the years of being the family afterthought. Yes, I texted back instantly. Send the letters. Tonight. Isaac was watching me curiously. Scarlett, whatever happens next. I'm guessing I should brace myself for some drama. I pocketed the keys and looked out at my lake, my cabins, my mountain estate. A fierce, protective joy mixed with a potent sense of retribution settled in my chest. Isaac, I said, meeting his gaze. You have no idea. The no trespassing orders are ready, Sandra said, spreading documents across my dining room table. They looked stark and official against the warm wood. One for Chloe and Mason. One for your parents. One for any other adult relative who was part of that email chain or benefited from the secret trip. I saw Lily Little's name on one. She was an adult now, and she'd definitely been on the beach trip. I traced my finger over the crisp legal language. Will they hold up? They're ironclad, Sandra confirmed. Signed, sealed, and delivered. As the property owner, you have every right to deny access. To anyone. For any reason. She hesitated, looking at me with concern. But Scarlett, once we serve these, there's no going back. This is it. The final break, most likely. Through the sliding glass doors, I could see Caleb and Ava playing in the backyard, drawing pictures with sidewalk chalk. One drawing was of mountains and a little figure standing next to a tree. They were still planning for next year. They just didn't know when next year would be, or where. I pulled up social media on my phone. Chloe's latest post, counting down the days to our magical winter getaway at Cedar Creek. So blessed to continue our precious family traditions in our favorite place. Hashtag Cedar Creek bound, hashtag family traditions, hashtag blessed. Sandra grimaced. She's really making this easy for you, isn't she? She always does. I signed the papers one by one, my hand steady. When will they be served? Tomorrow night, Sandra confirmed. They're all having dinner at that new French place downtown. My process server will catch them right as they're leaving. High visibility. My phone buzzed with a different kind of notification. A text from Riley. Big Tech Magazine cover story is live. They're calling you a rising star. Congrats. I showed Sandra the message. Perfect timing. You're not going to tell them about the business success either? Not yet, I said, gathering the signed papers. Let them digest this first. Let them think I'm still just the struggling single mom who's lost her mind. It'll make the rest more impactful. Later that evening, I drove out to Cedar Creek Lodge alone. Isaac had left the gate code for me, owner access. The words still felt strange and powerful. I walked down towards the frozen pond and the stream, the air cold and clean. I sat on the bank near the old swing set, remembering. Remembering being pulled off the swing. Remembering being told I wasn't strong enough to hike the upper trails. Remembering feeling small and insignificant on this vast, beautiful property. My phone lit up. Mom calling. I let it go to voicemail. Scarlett, sweetheart. It's Mom. We missed you at my birthday dinner last week. Chloe said she tried to reach you about it. A lie. Chloe had texted, invited, but in a deliberately exclusionary way. Anyway, she's planning this wonderful trip to Cedar Creek for next winter. I really hope you can make it work with your budget this time. We hate leaving you out. I deleted the message. It was the same script, the same passive aggression, the same refusal to acknowledge their role in the exclusion. I dialed Isaac instead. Everything okay, boss? He answered. Everything's fine, I said, a smile playing on my lips in the darkness. Has Mason called again about the booking? 3 more times today, Isaac confirmed. Getting pretty aggressive about it now that the window is closing. Good, I said. Keep dodging him. Just tell him the property status is uncertain. Will do. He paused. By the way, the contractor came by to quote the cabin renovations. Want me to send you the estimate? Yes, I said, looking across the dark expanse towards where Cabin 7 stood. I want everything updated by spring. Especially Cabin 7. Make it the priority. After hanging up, I walked the property in the gathering darkness. Every step on my land felt deliberate. The spot by the stream where Caleb wanted to fish. The path leading to the main lodge where family dinners were always slightly tense. The feeling wasn't just revenge. It was a profound sense of finally being rooted, of claiming a space that held both pain and cherished potential. Sandra was waiting in my driveway when I got home. Last chance to back out, she said, holding up the documents. We can tear these up right now. I thought about the beach photos, the canceled trip, the years of subtle exclusion masked as concern about my situation. I thought about Caleb's fishing reel and Ava's drawing. Send them, I said. She nodded slowly. I'll have my guy text us when it's done tomorrow night. Want company while we wait? No, I hugged her quickly. I need to do this part alone. The next evening, I sat on my back porch with a glass of wine, watching the sunset paint the sky in hues of orange and purple. I waited. At precisely 8:52 p.m., my phone buzzed with a text from Sandra's process server. Documents served to all parties as they exited restaurant. No issues. I closed my eyes, picturing the scene. My family, dressed in their expensive clothes from their exclusive dinner, being handed legal papers in front of the restaurant. Chloe's perfect mask cracking. Mom's look of bewildered shock. Dad's tight-lipped silence. Mason's impotent fury. My phone began buzzing instantly. Calls from Mom, Dad, Chloe. Text messages piling up. What is this? Call us right now. Have you lost your mind? Answer your phone, Scarlett. I silenced them all. I walked inside to check on Caleb and Ava, sleeping soundly. Ava had left her mountain drawing open on her bedside table. Caleb's backpack was ready for school, a book on mountain wildlife sticking out. Soon, babies, I whispered, tucking her blanket around her. Very soon. Back on the porch, I pulled up the security camera feed Isaac had installed at Cedar Creek Lodge. The property was dark and silent, except for the glint of starlight on the frozen pond. My lake. My cabins. My space. My revenge. My future. My phone lit up one last time. A text from Sandra. You okay? That must have been intense. I watched a shooting star streak across the view of the mountain in my screen. Never better, I replied. And for the first time in years, it wasn't a lie. Mom and Dad are coming over for dinner tonight, I told the kids at breakfast a few days later. I was attempting a truce, or at least, opening the door to a conversation on my terms. Really? Caleb looked up from his cereal bowl surprised. Grandma and Grandpa haven't visited in ages. I know, honey. I glanced at my phone. 17 missed calls and dozens of texts since the serving. That's exactly why I'd invited them. I spent the afternoon cooking Dad's favorite pot roast and Mom's preferred apple pie. At 6:55 p.m., my phone rang. Mom's number. Scarlett, sweetheart. Her voice was strained, the saccharine sweetness gone, replaced by brittle tension. Something's come up. We can't make it tonight. I gripped the counter, my knuckles white. Oh. Yes. Your father isn't feeling well. A likely excuse. And with everything that happened the other night, maybe we should all take some time to cool off. Things are just so difficult right now. Difficult? I kept my voice steady. I understand. Hope Dad feels better. I hung up and looked at the perfectly set table, the pot roast cooling, my children's expectant faces. They're not coming, are they? Caleb asked quietly. Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. A notification. Isaac had sent me security camera footage from Cedar Creek. I clicked play. There they were. Mom, Dad, Chloe, and Mason. On my property. Trespassing. They were near Cabin 7 and the main lodge, having what looked like a heated argument. Chloe was gesturing wildly, Mason pacing, looking furious. It seemed they hadn't just received the orders. They had immediately driven hours to the property, likely hoping to confront an empty lodge or maybe try to retrieve something or document the state of the place before renovations. Mason was seen trying the door handles on Cabin 7, pulling at a window. I forwarded the video to Sandra with one word: options? Her reply was instant. Police or private security. I watched my family, angry and entitled, trying to force their way onto my property, planning God knows what, right after bailing on dinner with their grandchildren. Neither, I typed back. Not yet. Let them dig their hole deeper. Isaac has cameras everywhere. My phone kept buzzing with messages. Chloe had moved from texts to furious emails. How dare you do this to our family after everything we've done for you? You ungrateful, spiteful little girl. You think you can just buy our memories, our traditions? You are pathetic. I screenshotted the email and saved it to a folder labeled Evidence. The doorbell rang. A courier stood there with a large envelope. Delivery from Mr. and Mrs. Mason Little, he said. Inside was a formal letter from Mason's law firm. Not just threats or a declaration of intent to file a lawsuit. Accusations of intentional infliction of emotional distress, interference with prospective business advantage, the rental, and destruction of family relations. It was absurdly dramatic. I was still reading the legalese when Ava tugged on my sleeve. Mommy? Since Grandma and Grandpa aren't coming, can we have pizza instead? And watch cartoons? I looked down at her innocent face, then at the formal legal threat in my hand. You know what? Yes. Yes, baby. Pizza. And ice cream. And we're eating in front of the TV. Later that night, after the kids were asleep and the pizza boxes were in the trash, I checked my email again. An anonymous message. No name, but the writing style was unmistakably Dad's. You've broken this family. Your mother can't stop crying. Is this what you wanted? To hurt us all? You're not the daughter we raised. I poured a glass of wine. I typed a reply, you're right. I'm not the daughter you raised. I'm the one you ignored, the one you excluded, the one who finally stopped waiting for your approval. Then I deleted it without sending. It wasn't for them. It was for me. Instead, I called Riley. The magazine interview is tomorrow, she said. What's our angle? Success through adversity, I replied. Single mom overcomes significant external obstacles to build a company protecting families. I paused, a cold smile touching my lips. And Riley? Make absolutely sure they mention our company valuation. All of it. It's time I showed all my cards. Well, almost all of them. My phone buzzed again. Another security alert from Isaac. This time showing Mason on the property at night, with a flashlight, specifically examining locks and foundations near cabin 7. Getting interesting over here, boss. Want me to confront him? No, I replied. Just keep recording. Get everything. Day and night. I walked to Caleb's room and found him awake, looking at old photos of Cedar Creek on his tablet. Hey, buddy. I sat on the edge of his bed. Want to hear a secret? He nodded, eyes wide. We're going to the mountain this summer. I smoothed his hair. Sooner than you think. All of us. His eyes lit up like Christmas morning. Really? But I thought things changed. Things did change, I agreed. But I promise you'll never miss another summer there. Does Aunt Chloe know? Not yet, I said, kissing his forehead. But she will. Very soon. Back in my room, I opened my laptop. An email from Mom. Subject line, please read. The tone was a shift. Less guilt, more pleading. Whatever we did to hurt you, we're truly sorry. But this revenge. It's beneath you, Scarlett. You're breaking your father's heart. Please call us. Please. I closed the laptop without replying. I walked to my window. The night sky was clear, the stars bright, just like they were at Cedar Creek. My phone buzzed one last time. Sandra, you okay? This is getting pretty intense. I thought about the uneaten dinner, the legal threats, the guilt trips, the trespassing. They think I'm breaking the family, I typed back. But you can't break what was already broken. You can only rebuild it. On your terms. And these are your terms? Sandra replied. I watched another shooting star streak across the sky, a cold mountain star reflected in the city night. No, I typed back. These are just the opening moves. Your sister just went nuclear, Sandra said, sending me a link via text. Check Facebook. Our local groups are blowing up. Chloe's post was exactly what I expected, and worse. A long, rambling screed about betrayal and heartbreak. She painted herself as the victim, the loving sister whose generous family traditions had been destroyed by Scarlett's spite and bitterness stemming from personal failures and divorce. She mentioned me buying the entire lake resort. She got the property type wrong, or maybe deliberately twisted it, just to keep them out. The post was filled with passive-aggressive pity for herself and thinly veiled attacks on me. Hashtag toxic family, hashtag pray for healing, hashtag karma is real. Oh, she had no idea. Comments were pouring in, a mix of sympathy for Chloe and speculation. I was still reading the comments, a cold amusement washing over me, when Riley called, her voice buzzing with excitement. Have you seen the magazine article? It's trending like crazy. I switched tabs. There it was. My face on the digital cover of a major tech and business magazine. The headline, Scarlett Thomas, How One Mother's Struggle Fueled a Multi-million-dollar Consulting Empire. The article detailed my journey, my business philosophy, my resilience, and prominently featured the recent major funding round, listing the company's valuation. Perfect timing, I said, a genuine smile spreading across my face. I watched the article link spread across LinkedIn and other professional networks. How's the stock price? Riley asked. My company wasn't public, but investor confidence translated. Investor confidence is through the roof, I confirmed. Calls are coming in already. Your family is going to see this, Scarlett. That's the point, I said simply. I posted the article link to my own LinkedIn profile and my public Facebook page, not with a long explanation, but a short, powerful message. Success isn't about who believes in you. It's about believing in yourself. Proud of what we're building. I added hashtags like hashtag women in business, hashtag resilience, hashtag building my future. Within hours, my inbox was flooded. Old classmates I hadn't spoken to in years, distant relatives who'd always overlooked me, even my ex-husband, all suddenly reaching out, congratulating me, remembering me. The contrast with Chloe's narrative was stunning. Then came the text from Dad. Just saw the news. $10 million? Why didn't you tell us? We're your parents. The entitlement was breathtaking. I was composing a response, something calm and cutting about priorities and transparency, when Caleb walked in, holding one of his mountain drawings. Mom, he asked, his expression serious. Can I ask you something? Always, buddy. Are we ever really going back to Cedar Creek? I closed my laptop. Actually, I said, my voice soft. I was thinking, how about this weekend? His eyes widened, hope and disbelief warring on his face. Really? Really? Really, I confirmed, smiling. Go tell your sister to pack. Pack your fishing rod. I texted Isaac, coming up Friday with the kids and some friends. Get cabin 7 ready. Then I called Sandra. Time for phase 2, I said. Gather the troops. By Friday afternoon, Cedar Creek Lodge was alive with a different kind of energy. Not the tense, exclusive atmosphere of past family gatherings, but one of warmth, laughter, and genuine connection. I had invited everyone who had supported me through the hard years. Sandra, Riley, members of my single-parent support group, friends from Ava's school who understood the juggle, even Audrey, an old family friend who had quietly shown me kindness over the years despite knowing the family dynamics. Kids splashed at the edge of the frozen pond, where a safe area was cleared, while adults grilled food on the deck near the main lodge. This place is amazing, Scarlett, Riley said, watching Ava, bundled in her snowsuit, tentatively trying out a small snowboard one of the other moms had brought. You should run programs here. For single-parent families or kids who need a break. Already working on it, I smiled, handing her a rough business plan for using the lodge for retreats and programs starting next season. Sandra joined us, phone in hand. Heads up, she said quietly. Chloe's viral post is getting picked up. Local news wants to interview her about the family dispute this weekend. Let her talk, I said, watching Caleb proudly showing his friend how to cast into the stream, partially thawed near a warm spring. Truth has a way of coming out. Speaking of truth, Sandra nodded towards the main entrance gate. We've got company. A familiar car, Mason's luxury SUV, was pulling up the long drive. Behind it, Mom and Dad's sedan. They had ignored the no trespassing orders, ignored the lawyers, ignored the magazine article, ignored everything except their own sense of entitlement and perhaps a desperate need to assert control over the situation on the very property they thought they had reserved for themselves. They were coming for a confrontation, expecting to find me alone, or maybe just Isaac. Instead, they found the grounds of Cedar Creek Lodge filled with people. Happy people, laughing children, a diverse, supportive community that I had built, reclaiming the space they had tried to exclude me from. The grill was smoking, music was playing softly, kids were running. Their car stopped at the gate. They got out, faces a mixture of disbelief, shock, and furious entitlement. Mason strode towards the gate, hand outstretched, as if expecting it to magically open for him. Chloe was beside him, trying to maintain a facade of wounded dignity, but her eyes darted wildly, taking in the scene. Mom and Dad lagged slightly behind, looking bewildered and uncomfortable. I walked towards the gate, stopping on my side, the boundary line I now owned. My chosen family gathered behind me, a quiet, supportive presence. Sandra stood with me, a silent legal force. Isaac the caretaker stood slightly behind us, his expression unreadable, but his loyalty clear. What is the meaning of this? Mason demanded, his voice tight with fury. You can't be here. This property is reserved. It was going to be reserved, Mason, I said, my voice calm and clear, carrying across the crisp mountain air. But you didn't finalize the rental agreement. And I did something else instead. Chloe stepped forward, her voice trembling with fake emotion. Scarlett, how could you? This is our family's place. Our traditions. You bought it just to keep us out? After everything. After everything? I echoed softly, letting my gaze sweep over my parents, then back to Chloe and Mason. After you canceled our trip because I was a burden? After you lied and went on a luxury vacation? After you secretly planned to take over Cedar Creek, the place my children love, just for yourselves? After you sent lawyers after me and trespassed on my property? I gestured around at the laughing children, the talking adults. This isn't about keeping you out, Chloe. This is about letting them in. Mom stepped tentatively towards the gate. Scarlett, honey, we just want to talk. This is tearing the family apart. The family was already apart, Mom, I said gently, but firmly. You just didn't want to see it. Or maybe you were okay with it being apart, as long as I was the one on the outside. I looked at them, truly looked. There was anger and entitlement, yes, but also a deep-seated dysfunction that I no longer wanted to be a part of. Mason stepped forward again, attempting to assert dominance. You need to clear these people out. This is ridiculous. I'll call the police. Go ahead, Mason, I said, a cool smile touching my lips. But they'll be removing trespassers. And the security footage of you trying to break into Cabin 7 should make things interesting for your legal team. The color drained from his face. Chloe gasped. Mom covered her mouth with her hand. This is my property now, I stated, the simple truth ringing with power. These are my guests. My family. I looked around at the vibrant scene behind me, the genuine smiles, the shared laughter. And you are trespassing. Isaac will escort you back to your cars. Isaac stepped forward, quietly but firmly indicating they needed to leave. They hesitated, looking at me, at the property, at the scene of joyous life that had replaced their exclusive plans. The disbelief and fury were still there, but now mixed with a dawning realization of their powerlessness. Finally, reluctantly, they turned and walked back towards their cars. Chloe cast one last venomous look back, but I simply met her gaze, calm and unafraid. Mom and Dad looked back, a mixture of sadness and accusation on their faces. I didn't flinch. I watched their cars drive away, the sound of the gravel crunching fading into the cheerful noise of my own gathering. I turned back to the lodge, to the laughter, to the future. Audrey, the family friend, gave me a small, knowing smile and a nod of approval. Sandra squeezed my arm. The mountain air felt cleaner than it had in years. I hadn't just bought a property, I had reclaimed a part of myself, built a new foundation, and surrounded myself with the people who saw my worth. Cedar Creek Lodge was no longer a symbol of exclusion and painful memories. It was a place of healing, of joy, of building new traditions. My traditions. On my terms.